Hello and welcome to the lobby, GameSpot's weekly hangout every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific right here on GameSpot.com. I'm not sick anymore. At least that's what Scott Butterworth and Peter Brown hope as they sit with me for the next time.
Yeah.
I just realized you're not on for the whole show. I think you are.
I am susceptible to getting ill.
Okay. So
we are already breathing the same air though. So it's either we're sick now or we're not. So at this point, I'm all in.
I made out with these microphones before we went live.
I totally believe that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great show last week. Congratulations.
Yeah.
to
R.I.P.
all.
Chris Waters.
Yes, and Tyson. Ty is already wearing his denim shorts and riding plastic bulls. And
It's real hot in Austin. I don't know if you know that. Very hot in Texas right now.
yeah, he's already having to use cabs because there's no Uber. And he's waiting for South by Southwest and the Grand Prix, and that's everything I know about Austin. Right
That
there.
covers it, yeah. Barbecue and Formula One, and yeah,
Chris is thinking up ideas to get us to buy Watch Dogs 2.
probably.
Yes, yeah.
It's hacking the planet.
Maybe the Crew too.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I
Hack the
guess they did
planet.
pretty well.
God.
It was an Xbox Games with Gold game, and apparently it was downloaded a bunch of times. We had a news story about it.
Which one?
The Crew. It
Oh, really?
did pretty well when it was free.
I can kind of see that because it's like the Evolve thing, right? Where if enough people are like Mary was talking yesterday about how that's free to play now, right? And she was playing a bunch of it. I think Evolve is.
Yeah, I think so.
And like now they're getting like the mass amount of people to play that game. I can kind of see the same with the Crew, where like if your buddies were playing, and you join up.
No reason
and
not
stuff.
to. Clearly enough people were interested, like, I'll try it, sure. And you're right, it's the kind of game that benefits from more players, so it actually makes a lot of sense. That was a good call to like get it into that program.
It's a fun game. I think the Crew's all right.
Yeah,
It's all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's very fine.
Yes. Who reviewed it?
The original I did, and then
Okay.
you reviewed
And I
the
did Wild
expansion.
Run, which
Oh,
was the
right.
expansion. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Which was still fine. It was better. They improved even like the core driving, and it added some really fun stuff like monster trucks and motorcycles.
Right.
But, you know.
I'll be honest, guys. I was not expecting to talk about the Crew this much.
Yeah. We immediately diverted from the game plan.
See, Chris Waters is already
succeeding.
He's
in his
doing
new
it.
position,
Yeah, that UB blog inception is real. He planted the seed. On today's show, though, we have a bunch of cool stuff to talk about. We're about to talk to Scott about Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which you played a bunch of.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Pokemon GO. The current title of the segment is Pokemon GO Weekly Fucked Up Story Roundup. I'm sure we'll change that for the breakout. I'm pretty sure.
No.
Well, it's too late now.
We're going to talk to Peter about I Am Setsuna.
Yeah.
We're going to have Alexa in to talk about that as well. She played it too.
She's
but
not here today.
She is ill.
Yep.
Ill.
Almost like somebody made out with her microphone.
Was she on the show last week? Because that would explain it.
No.
No.
Microphone. Oh, okay, well,
There you go.
independently sick then.
And Jimmy Thang's coming in to talk about graphics cards. They
Yay.
released the 1060, which is a cheaper version of the 1070 and 1080, I imagine.
Yes.
We'll see if that's any good. Review
Sounds
on
right.
site. But first of all, let's talk about Adam Jensen, shall we?
Yeah,
Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. Originally supposed to come out February of this year.
I believe so.
Now it's coming out August 23rd, 5 years to the day.
Yeah.
Since the Deus Ex Human Revolution. I can't believe that's been 5 years.
Yeah.
That's troubling. to
Yeah, I
me.
agree. Actually, I hadn't even realized it had been that long.
Is that crazy?
That's quite a long time.
2011. Because it seemed like they were dead on to make a sequel to this game. It seemed to do well.
Yeah,
It seemed
totally.
to surprise people.
And people were talking about it well past the release date, too. Like, it was still a relevant game for a while.
A lot of people seem to enjoy it. The only criticism of that one, if I remember correctly, was the sort of boss fights forced you not to be stealthy and forced you to play a certain way.
That was
And
the
whole
biggest-
game was about player agency, and then sort of threw it out the window.
That's
Boss fights,
exactly
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So you've played a bunch of it. How much have you played, Scott?
Yeah, so I got to play it back in September, and then I got to play it again last week and saw different sections both times. So back in September, I saw a lot of like just dedicated story missions that were focused on combat or stealth. It was just like straight up gameplay. So what I played more recently was like the open world segments and a lot of the social conversation system. So I've now seen actually a really well-rounded portrait of the game, which was really nice. The more recent stuff was like I got to check out Prague, which is sort of the home city. It's sort of like Detroit was in Human Revolution. Right. You'll jump off from there and go to other parts of the world to do missions, but that sort of seems to be the hub area, the main hub area. So I got to kind of like look around for side quests and explore and find hidden stuff like that. So yeah, new areas, side quests, conversation system, even saw some new augment stuff like that.
Cool. I want to keep this open for the people in the chat as well. At Danny O'Dwyer in the GameSpot chat or the Twitch chat, if you have any questions, I'll be sure to pass them on. First of all, I want to ask you about Prague, because I get a real like Half-Life 2 vibe off of the gameplay when I see this, because that was also like set in some sort of like generic, we don't know, Belarusian maybe, or Eastern European city, right?
Yeah.
What was it like exploring Prague? How big was the open world? Like, what were you kind of was the moment-to-moment action just you ambling around and talking to people, or were you like using your stealth and stuff like that? Like, how did that actually feel?
Yeah, so during those sections, you're free to explore at your own pace. Like there are no like time restrictions really. There are no directives. You can kind of just like take your time between missions and explore and do whatever you want. To be clear, it's not like a fully open world game. It's not one big giant map. It's actually a bunch of discrete open areas that are connected by a subway system. So you can kind of like explore this area, then run down into a subway station and like pick a new destination.
Right.
There's a little cutscene and it whisks you away and you're at the next
darkness
area. Kind of, yeah. It's so it's a little more like that. Yeah, there's some definite Half-Life vibes to the way the city's designed. It actually, for me, suffers from kind of the same problem as Detroit or Shanghai in the previous game, where the city areas don't really feel like cities to me.
Right, yeah.
They're like weirdly tubular. Like if you're running around in like Grand Theft Auto or something, you kind of like see an area, you can run over to it, and you can kind of go wherever you want. It feels like a natural city.
Yeah.
Here, your options for where you can go are like very limited, so it ends up feeling like a game level. But that's just me kind of wanting immersion, because as a playable game space, it's actually really impressive. It's really densely packed with like things to find, hidden areas, vents, terminals to hack, people to interact with. Way more people now than there were in the previous game. Way more people to talk to and interact with, many of whom give you side quests now. In the previous game, there were really only a handful of side quests in the entire game. So even though as a city, it doesn't feel super believable, as a game space, it seems to work really well because there's a lot to do.
So are you jumping from Prague then to like different missions that are in like different parts of the world from there?
Yeah.
Like,
so there was a story-based mission that occurred within Prague, but then immediately after completing that, I went to a different section of the city, which I guess is, so technically still in Prague, but not in that same hub world where I started.
Right.
So that was still technically in Prague, but it looked very different. It was like a bombed out train station. But then after that, like sort of the final segment that I played was in a different part of the world entirely. It was in like this slum for augmented people called Golem City that looked very like Blade Runner-y, like dystopian. Everything was made out of scrap metal somehow. Really eerie gold lighting throughout. So yeah, that was totally separate from the main city, and I just like got on a chopper to get whisked away to that part of the world, wherever that happens to be.
So it's still like a linear first person
Totally.
/ third person, I'm guessing, experience.
The narrative and like the main campaign is definitely linear.
How did the action feel then? Is it familiar to Human Revolution, or to Human Revolution? Is it the same sort of like cover mechanic, third person? You can stealth, you can actually like. Did it feel all that different? Because like a lot of people in the chat are pointing at the fact that this seems like the reception to this seems to be quite like there isn't much hype going into this. Almost like it feels like a known quantity. Does it play a lot like the previous game?
No, it definitely does. I mean, certain things have been improved or fleshed out. Like for example, the big gameplay hook for Adam Jensen is that his body has like all these cybernetic enhancements, which manifest in various ways, usually in terms of like weapons or, like hacking abilities or stealth abilities, things like that. So there are new augments available, many of which are allow you to play non-lethally, which in the previous game, most of the augments seemed to be combat oriented. So they clearly heard that criticism. We're like, okay, we're going to try to implement new augments that really foster these different play styles and encourage people to play different ways. But yeah, that part of it is still very true. The game very much focuses on allowing you to play how you want to play, and a lot of the staples of the gameplay are there, like the switching between third person and first person when you go into cover, the ability to like cloak and move, and like finding those hidden vents or hacking terminals. Like all of that stuff plays very similarly to how it did in the previous game.
And I guess the devil's in the detail with all of this sort of stuff. Like, so how did it feel to you over the hours you were playing? Was that an enjoyable experience? Were there levels that you played through that you thought, hey, I wouldn't mind redoing that as action or stealth? Or did it feel like too familiar?
It was kind of a mix. I mean, I think the game still actually has some rough edges. There are clearly a lot of really great ideas, and I'm still very optimistic about the game. I will say that the combat, I never quite got a feel for it. I never really had too much fun. I feel like the game really limits your ammo supply and your energy supply. So if you're like going full out and you're just trying to kill everybody, you have to be very careful in how you do it, because you could easily run out of resources, or just get straight up murdered. Like,
but then you just
really
use a chainsaw and the ammo falls out.
Yeah.
Peter immediately.
This is very much not Doom, and Yeah, but in a way, I think that's actually kind of great. Like, there are so many great third-person shooters out there that if you want to just go like bang, bang, shooty, whatever,
Right.
you have tons of options for that. What I think this game does really well is giving you almost more of like a Mass Effect style approach to things where you can socialize your way through things, you can
Okay.
like stealth your way through things. I really prefer those
Can you
alternate
sex your
play
way through
styles.
things?
Probably. There's like a potential love interest in the story. I mean,
Okay.
maybe not, but I didn't see any sex. There's a shower scene.
Great.
So that happens.
Get to see all of Adam's augmentation.
Yeah, sexy augments and like a steamy shower. That was cool.
I know what I'd augment.
I guess.
Yeah.
No sex scenes that I saw though. But yeah, they really fleshed out the dialogue system, which I am a total sucker for. Like I love branching dialogue trees like Mass Effect or Fallout. So there's a lot more of that in this game. And I feel like you have more control over those conversations as a player than you did before. You have more opportunities to pick dialogue options and direct the way things are going. So I thought that was really cool. So I'm optimistic about those pillars, like the social and the stealth pillars. To me, are really exciting and really fun. Similar to the previous game, but still really cool.
Cool.
I'm kind of curious how you felt about the facial animations. Like I got problems with Adam Jensen's voice. No need to go into that because that's a personal nitpick. But looking at the facial animations and people talking, it looks like really outdated.
Yeah, no,
Very, very
I
much
definitely agree. They look really wonky and almost like out of sync. And I kept wondering if like, I don't think that's just like our video. Like that's how I remember it being when I was playing the game live, like just me and a console and a TV. So
Right.
I don't know what the deal is, but I agree that it's pretty dated.
So I'm wondering, does that that aspect like manifest itself in other ways? Like, are you noticing that this game is pretty sound throughout, or based on just what I'm looking at with the dialogue stuff, it seems like they sort of picked and choose what to really pay attention to?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that maybe is the case with the game at large?
I would say that another good example of that is actually the aiming, which is another reason I really don't like the combat that much. It's not
Right.
bad, but I feel like the aiming was tuned for mouse and keyboard. I was playing on a controller,
Yeah.
Right.
so it's very one-to-one. So when you zoom in, suddenly like the reticule's really jumpy, even if
Yeah.
the sensitivity is way down, which I tend to turn the sensitivity up when I'm playing shooters on a console. But in this case, actually I had to turn it down so that I could aim accurately while like aiming down sight. So, I mean, there's still a month before the game is out. I'm certain there will be a day one patch because that's what happens with every game. So it's entirely possible some of those edges will be smooth before the game comes out. So I don't want to like fully condemn it.
No.
But I think that what you're hitting on is accurate. I think there are some rough edges. There are things in the game that look better than other aspects of the game.
Right.
Look or feel better. So, I mean, tons of great ideas. And I have a lot of faith in this team because they really seem to know what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a flawless demo. I didn't come away going like, this is amazing. I can't wait. I'm a little more like reluctant to, shower it with praise, but we'll see,
It's certainly not like trying to cast aspersions on the dev team, but like they're working with a budget and with a schedule. Of
course.
And like some things have to fall by the wayside.
Yeah, this
in
is
that
the
sort of
tragedy of AAA development. It's always like you're managing time and budget and manpower and just a million factors and like your ambitions sometimes are not going to align with the final product and like you do the best you can. But
I was actually pleasantly surprised by how much they ended up reining it in for the previous game. How much they sort of like it was a game with rough edges, no doubt, but it had sort of enough of a concise vision that it was kept me coming back anyway.
That's kind of the story of Deus Ex as a whole series, though. I don't even think it was just the last game. I feel like every Deus Ex game I've looked at is kind of like, like there's something about it that just doesn't feel like it's like they didn't get to go to the finish line all the way. But then everyone seems to love these aspects of it.
Yeah, a difficult franchise to take over as well.
Definitely is. I mean, I agree, though. There's just something about the franchise. There's something about its sort of conspiratorial world and the idea of the augments and the fact that you really can play combat, stealth, or packing or social.
Right.
It really does support all of these pillars. That's pretty unique. I mean, not many games can really pull that off. So I can see why, for certain people, this franchise is like just something they will always love, warts and all.
Right. Sure.
It's interesting to say that because there hasn't been many games which have done that, but we have Dishonored 2 coming out in 2016, which is very similar in that sort of respect. And then also Warren Spector working on the new System Shock remake as well, which probably won't be out for a little while, but kind of,
should be cool, though.
Similar stuff. Yeah.
I'm excited for that to exist. I mean, the early trailer of the new System Shock looks really great. So if they can make the whole game look and feel that great, then thumbs up.
So there you go. Deus Ex Mankind Divided coming out August 23rd. Scott, where can they see your preview? What's it called? It's on GameSpot, right?
It is on GameSpot. I believe it's just called Exploring Mankind Divided's Open World, Social Systems, and More. Cool. Relatively boring title, but wanted to just inform people like, here's the stuff of the game that we haven't been able to see yet. Come check out what we actually played recently.
Yeah, it's hard to sex up Adam Jensen in a headline, so we should have said Adam
voice, though.
Jensen,
That voice.
shower augments.
He has the worst voiceover.
It's the Batman problem, right? It's like I
little
get
bit.
why you're doing this, but it's a bit like you're forcing it.
it's
like,
so hammy.
yeah.
That dude kind of sounds like that in real life, though.
Which is
really?
like
Look
almost,
up interviews with that guy.
gosh.
Like his voice is. He actually sounds like this in real life. It's really crazy.
It's not
just-
convincing. The supporting like NPCs like sound far more convincing than the guy that they have.
But he's
playing
just
the lead
like smoking 2 packs of Reds every day. You know? It's just like it's doing.
He's
real
got
work
cybernetic
on him.
lungs. It's cool. He'll be
That's
fine.
good. Yeah, it's a good point. Beauty of the futures of smoking.
It's a future, Danny.
Okay, let's wrap it up there. Scott, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Who's in the back there? Mr. Jake Decker.
Yeah.
Get your ass in here.
Tagging in Jake.
Tagging it in. Awesome. Adam
What up?
Jensen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. All the chat, having a good old time talking about how they think it's interesting that August is sort of being taken over by No Man's Sky and that other games in there people are sort of not getting as...
I haven't heard
It's
anyone
hyped
really talk about No Man's Sky recently.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
No, I'm serious.
I'm kind of with you a little bit. I think they've done a good job of not like talking about it.
right. It seems
the
to be
past
that they
couple of
definitely
weeks.
like reeled it in to not have like all these expectations placed against
Yes.
it because of hype, which is probably for the better.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean that game's coming out a couple weeks.
It's gone gold. Real close to the wire, actually, I guess.
Yeah.
When they got their release candidate, they put their little photograph up.
Right, they're on his beard.
Sean
just-
Murray's dev beard looking
Yeah.
real gnarly.
So
Bear Grylls.
What's the date today? Today is the 5th.
Today's the
20...
19th? 19th.
So that game comes out in 2 weeks.
Think so.
We don't have code yet.
I'm on hot. Oh, we don't have code yet?
We don't have code yet.
How are you going to visit every single
August 9th.
planet,
I have no
though?
idea.
August 9th. Yes, I'm back.
You
I'm
need
back.
at least
Yes,
2
I'm,
weeks for that.
yeah, I'm actually not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. I'm not planning to be sick again. I'm going back to Europe. So you and Mahardy are going to be taking over the show.
Yeah.
Should be fun times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going on vacation, but I'm actually really happy to be back by the time No Man's Sky's out. I'm like arriving back on that Sunday, so 2 days before, so should be good times. Jake Decker,
What's up?
how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Editing some hot videos right now.
Yeah, working on something really cool.
Mass Effect.
Yep.
When's that going up?
Friday.
History
I think
of Mass Effect.
It's a long one.
It is fucking.
really long
I've
one.
seen the script. It's a big old. I took the easy one by doing Quake. Mass Effect's a way. It's only 3 games, but it's a lot. There's a lot to it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've played those games so much that it's like it kind of comes naturally, but I'm still finding out like all sorts of cool things about the development of that game. Like it's interesting.
The dedication he completed. What did you do over the weekend? This is the dumbest thing. ever.
I originally I was just like, I'll just play a little bit of 1, capture footage, and I just played through 1. And I was like, well, play 2, just capture a little bit of footage, played through 2.
You ate both of them?
Almost 2.
Oh my
Not done
gosh.
yet. Still doing 2.
Jeez Louise.
But I look for any excuse to play those games. It's like, I know you're saying like, well, don't spend too much time capturing, but it's like, well, I kind of want to play these again.
How long did it
so-
take you to complete the first one again?
I think 10 hours or something like that.
Really? If you just
Yeah,
mainline
like,
it?
Yeah, I did. I only did like a couple of the really necessary side quests and just did like,
Right.
just powered through it.
And same for 2? Like same.
2, yes. Well, I mean, 2's much more linear in that sense. Like it's not nearly
Right.
as much. You're not going to waste as much time exploring. You
So
might.
you were just like, screw all your companion missions. You're all going to die in the end. Nice work. All right. Well, we're not here to talk about Mass Effect. We're here to talk about the only game that anyone cares about right now. If you go on any video game website, hell, if you go turn your television on,
If you walk outside,
if you walk out, if you walk
Look out your
outside,
window.
Yes, right now there are hordes of teens walking around with their phones out,
Not
not
just
talking to
teens.
each
Not
other.
just teens,
Not just
Danny.
teens. That's true.
grown ass adults,
Me included. The Pokemon goes.
and it goes.
It goes and it goes. Look, let's be honest here, right? Everyone's covering this game too much. It's a constant source of traffic for us. It is doing all the articles, doing loads of page views. The videos are doing loads. So I was like, we're gonna have to talk about Pokemon Go. There's nothing else to talk about. We have to talk about Pokemon Go. So at the very least, we can have a funny wrap up of all the stupidest news stories that are about Pokemon Go. Is that all right? Does that
Sounds
sound
good to
okay?
me.
Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that's all right.
We good?
That's all right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. No more downvotes.
Okay.
That's it. So first, I got a couple of stories here, okay? And I want to basically gauge your guys' opinion on this. The first one, man quits job in order to catch all the Pokemon. Okay? This is coming out of the hot scoops over at Mashable.com. This is a gentleman who worked as a barista somewhere in New Zealand, and he has basically quit his job so he can Instagram take photographs of every single Pokemon. How many is there? 150 in Pokemon Go?
Yeah, 150 in Pokemon
250
Go.
slots, 150 in total, right? I see there's like groups of people.
I don't know those slots, but yeah, it's just the original Pokemon.
Because I've just got 250 Zubats right now, so I know it's pretty full. Okay, what do you think about quitting your job to catch all the Pokemon? Peter Brown.
I mean, maybe it's just what this guy needs to live a happy, fulfilling life. I don't know.
Just sick of making coffees?
Not for me.
No?
I couldn't do it. Part of me thinks
quest,
like
right?
2 months from now, he's going to be like, man,
2 months, really?
what the hell was I thinking?
You think he's gonna
I
have?
don't know. How long does it take to catch all 150? Catch and evolve, rather.
Do you think it'll? Do you think he'll get to the end of the 150, and then the regret will come?
I'm not going to doubt his commitment to his charge.
Okay.
But once he reaches it, then what?
I mean, I like the idea that he's going to be fully committed until he reaches it. That's amazing.
It's going to be like that moment when Forrest Gump runs all the way to the West Coast.
Right.
And then gets there and he's like, oh.
Better run back. There are pictures of him here with, I don't know what is that? Of some sort of pony?
Oh, so is he dressed?
Yeah, he's dressed. Yeah, he's just like, no, he's not dressed like Ash. He's just hanging out with
okay.
this thing.
Then his commitment isn't is.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
It's a picture of him with a power bank at Christchurch.
I think this guy must just love the
He's got 4,000 followers.
Is it a lot? I don't know.
I don't know. He's got a Facebook. If you want to hang out with him on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Tom BleeBNZ. BLEBE. Not sure if that's a surname. Weird things happen in New Zealand. Okay, next story. There's all his pictures. Look at that. Look at that hot Instagram content. Look at that.
Dang.
Don't get those views making coffee. Hey, fair play to him.
He could just
Catch
learn
that
how to like draw Pokemon in espresso foam and stuff.
That's pretty good, actually. You should probably comment on his thing. Okay, next one. This is a video. I'm not sure if the guys in the back have this queued up. This is. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Man falls into pond playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
This is somebody who was Twitch streaming their Pokemon Go play, which I just want to.
Was it Twitch plays my Pokemon Go or something? Did they?
And they just made him walk. Yeah, this is.
I don't want to, but if you say so.
This is him at nighttime just walking along, collecting some Pokemon, and then suddenly it goes dark and you hear the sound of water. It's like a real, and like to the point where it sounds like his microphone is just like totally. There we go. He's gone. There you go.
The obvious mistake there is that he wasn't playing in AR mode. This whole thing could have been avoided.
Didn't see it in the darkness. That's gotta suck. Jump in. I live beside a lake, and literally the whole thing. I walk around it all the time. Me and my partner do it probably 3 times a week, maybe. The whole thing, just like surrounded with groups of people, like dropping lures.
Just start pushing
crazy.
them in.
So yeah.
They won't know just because they're so into their phone.
Right.
That could be my Twitch stream. just go around pushing other people.
I was on Instagram.
I'll just do it I'll make sure I'm eating a donut, so it's part of Twitch's eating.
Oh,
segment.
right.
Yeah, it's great.
Social
Easily
eating,
done.
man.
Yeah,
So
social
you'd
eating.
be eating a donut, holding, I guess, your phone,
Yeah.
and then walking around. How would you push people? Just elbow
While
people?
talking about League of Legends.
I know, yeah. Don't look at me like that's not the future of games coverage, Jake. Okay, next one. Local businesses dropping lures. How do we feel about this? Radio Shack had 25% off power banks if you catch a Pokemon.
Nothing's going to save Radio Shack. I'm sorry.
You don't like Radio Shack?
No, they went bankrupt 2 years ago. And
Oh,
closed,
really?
90% of their stores. They are hanging on by a thread.
Okay, well, so they gotta do
need
what
the
you
lures.
gotta do.
There's a cafe right down the block that's got a little chalkboard with Pokemon on it.
Okay.
Talking about, come here 2 to 2:30. We're dropping lures like crazy. This, that, and the other. Get 10% off. I mean, I think for businesses, it's a real smart move. But certain brands or maybe just types of businesses played more to that demographic, like Radio Shack,
Right.
or coffee.
Or Hillary Clinton, because I guess she's dropping
Right.
lures too for her.
What?
Yeah,
To get people to come to her stuff. Yeah.
Mike and I Ubered here, and the Uber driver told us all about people he's driven around to catch Pokemon to the middle of nowhere. He told us about how Hillary Clinton, I guess, is dropping lures so she can. No, I mean, I don't know, she's
Attract
getting her.
monetized teens.
I guess, but I don't know. It seems to be a good. I don't know. Not a bad way to get people to go to your rallies.
She just needs one of the Ash's hats to wear during the next thing.
So right now it's time to catch Pokemon.
Did you see the UFC guy? As a little bit of an aside, the UFC, it wasn't UFC, sorry, it was Bellator, I think it was. The fighter who...
Oh, he rolled a ball.
He kneeled him, yeah, and then he picked out his gum shield, rolled it towards him after he'd like basically TK out him, and then like put the cap on and went like that.
Oh my god.
The most messed up part of that story is if that guy like has literally fractured his skull open.
Well, this
and he's in
guy is just
hospital right
making a
now.
joke.
Dang.
Yeah, so there's like it's Cyborg's ex, who's a UFC fighter now. She's one of the head welterweight women's division fighters, and it's her husband. And there's a picture of him in hospital in the UK, and he literally has like it looks like his head just got like punched. It's so bad. So this guy was like literally holding his skull butt together, and the guy was like doing a trolling him like Ash Ketchum. It's like, yeah, I choose you, guy who I almost killed. That's pretty fucked up. What do you think about the McDonald's thing? Have you heard about this? So apparently Redditors like busted open the code and found out that like McDonald's are the first like page
sponsor
location.
thing?
Yeah, so all McDonald's are going to be, I think, gyms.
Sure. It's a logical conclusion. I mean, it's no
That's where the
harm in
money
that.
is. Yeah.
No problem.
You don't
Better
care?
for all the players. No, I mean, what? People are going to eat McDonald's if they want to eat
What if there's a
McDonald's.
Mama's and Papa's burger joint across the road which was a gym? And they're like, oh no, we can't let you be a gym anymore. We're going to give it to Ronald over here.
I suppose that's true, but
What would you think about that?
I think like,
Ethics in burger selling.
I think like the bigger problem though is that all this walking they're doing is for nothing now that they just go to McDonald's.
McDonald's? It's a good point.
as long as you don't have to like eat at McDonald's or like go like there's no restrictions like that, then like whatever, who cares?
Hey, McDonald's ain't that bad.
No, I eat McDonald's, but I'm saying if you're trying to drum up any sort of like, well, is this controversial?
Oh, right.
That would be the only thing that could make
Like
it
if you
bad.
you get like a free side hook if you bought a hamburger or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I'd be buying hamburgers.
Just
I want
for
that
side
fucking
hook,
side hook.
yeah.
Sorry. Last one here. Said I'd end on a real funny one.
It's probably not.
No, there's no way I can get out of this now. Man stabbed while playing Pokemon Go. Keeps playing. This is a beautiful story. Because mostly of the lines, you can see the very well highlighted there. I basically risked my life, he said. I have a line here. Mr. Baker, his first name, I'll come up here. Michael Baker, 21, was catching Pokemon characters in Forest Grove around 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Monday, 1 a.m. on a Monday. Nothing ever happens. When he saw another man walking in the area and approached him. Apparently, Michael approached the other man. I saw him go by and asked if he was playing Pokemon Go. He was like, "What?
Stab." What'd you say to me?
You call me a Pokemon?
You're the 1,000th person today. I can't take it.
I guess he wanted to battle because he came up at me with a knife, Baker told him. Yeah. Right after I was stabbed, I continue with my mission to Plaid Pantry for my mission for chips and beer, Baker said. So apparently he just got cut on the hand.
I was gonna
it's
say,
not that bad.
yeah. Okay.
They had to call the cops and he didn't want to because he wanted to catch Pokemon.
Didn't he get some stitches too? So it was like kind of bad, right? I thought I read he got like 8 stitches or something like that.
But he wanted to be the very best, I guess.
I feel like this is just like a college kid who's like, hey, let's set this up. Like, gets his friend to dress up like a
Right, yeah.
And just like, it's
And
be a
then-
good story. We'll make the news for sure.
And then his friend like it's like that tragic tale where he like just stabs him like too much or
Yeah, it's like Scream.
Yeah,
It's like the end of
right,
Scream.
exactly. I knew I was pulling this from somewhere. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
The ending of Scream, which is now a TV show. Oh yeah. Are you okay, man? You stabbed me. What did he say? Like you hit me in the stomach, man. Fucking movie's weird.
Did he ever get the beer and chips though?
Yeah.
He did.
Oh, he did? Okay.
He lived. Yeah. And then he went on his merry way, and now he's. Imagine doing that first of all, and then imagine like saying okay to the television interview of you being that much of a pleb.
Yeah.
Like just being like, yeah, I'm gonna own this. I love Pokemon so much, I almost fucking died.
Imagine quitting your job to catch fictitious monsters.
It's true. Imagine falling into a lake. Just a handful of the stories we have on this week's Pokemon Go
humanity.
weekly fucked up story
Make a
roundup.
show out of it.
Yeah, check back next week on the lobby to find out which ways humanity is embarrassing itself through the medium of Pokemon Go. Okay, let's get on to more pressing news.
Where were these stories when Ingress was out? Where are those tragic Ingress incidents?
The Ingress ones are I was listening to the Bombcast this week and Jeff was talking about how apparently they used to like people would put up walls like put up like debris so people couldn't get to different ingress points. Like they were like super territorial around it.
Oh gosh.
I'd never even heard of ingress until then. Have you heard of ingress before?
Not until Pokemon Go is a thing.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's loads of geocaches where I live though.
Geo dudes is what you're talking about.
I wish. Like Trader Joe's car park is full of goddamn Zubats. They're like everywhere. Motherfuckers. Anyway, let's press on to more pressing news. Peter Brown,
Hey.
you review video games.
Yeah.
When you're not handing them off to Mike Mahardy, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This week you are reviewing or have reviewed a game called Am Setsuna, which is a game I was calling I Am Satsuma.
So was Lucy James apparently.
Do you notice? Is Satsuma called something else here? Satsuma is a fruit. I think it's a large orange, if I'm right.
So
It's called a pumpkin, Danny.
Okay, sorry, yes. I think maybe Mandarin might be the word that's also used for Satsumas. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, you are not reviewing a game about a small, delicious fruit. You're in fact reviewing a game which was an interesting one. This is Square Enix's studio they set up to make Square Enix-ass games, right?
I'm going to say no, only because
Okay.
Square Enix doesn't make games like this really anymore.
Right.
So they're making Squaresoft-like games.
Right, okay. Classic JRPGs in the sort of Chrono Trigger Final
and
Fantasy.
I'm going to dial that back a little bit because if you think about it, Chrono Trigger is the first real Square Enix game.
Right.
Because it was a collaboration between the best of Final Fantasy devs and the best of Dragon Quest devs. So this is before Square Enix was a thing, but so maybe in some sense you're right there.
It's like the progenitor. Okay, technicality. I get away on it.
Yeah.
So this is them making games in that sort of classic sense, in the way that like lots of their other franchises have evolved, and that's just the natural way of things. What I sort of got from your review, what did it get? 7 out of 10 on GameSpot. You can get the review right now. Video review up as well on the site on YouTube. What I got from it is that it's quite derivative of sort of Square games. Is that to its benefit or not?
In a lot of ways, it's to its benefit because the source material is pretty strong. The things that it's pulling from are great things to reference, and the only time it becomes an issue is, I suppose, when those references, as someone who played games like Chrono Trigger and the other RPGs that were coming out around that time, you recognize it, and it just takes you out of the moment of the game, and it's distracting one, and then it makes you feel cynical because you're like, oh, this is just a paint by numbers kind of thing for them.
Right.
It's not totally one-to-one, but there are so many elements that are like, yeah, I've seen this before. But at the same time, like it comes together for a game that is largely really enjoyable, and yes, makes me feel nostalgic in a good way as well.
So how does the combat work? Is it in the sort of classic Final Fantasy sense, or is it more Chrono Trigger-y?
It's almost exactly like Chrono Trigger. Essentially, there are no random encounters. You see enemies on the field. You bump into them. Everyone kind of like hops into position.
So you can avoid them if you want.
You can avoid them if you want. Like if they are looking one way or another, you can sneak behind them. So yeah, it's turn-based, although you can play in active mode or wait mode. Active mode lets the turn meter keep charging even when you're making a decision. Wait mode lets you take your time and think a little bit more rather than having to like make a decision before wasting a turn.
Can you choose to swap? Can you start the game on wait mode and then go into active mode?
You can swap at any time.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you can get used to it.
Yeah. And one of the other cool things is that characters can combine skills. So they may have, one character may have a heal attack, another one may have like a whirlwind attack kind of thing. And you can, if they're in your party and they both have those skills equipped, you can combine them and like heal your whole party with one big whirlwind rather than just one person. And that applies to offensive stuff as well. So there's a lot of depth to explore in terms of building your party and fitting out individual characters and then fitting out a team with those disparate parts and how they work together.
Excellent. What type of, like, how many characters are we talking about here? I'm guessing you're going out into the field and meeting people and adding them to your party and stuff?
Yeah, I want to say it's like 6 or 7.
Okay.
I don't have an exact number off the top of my head.
All right. Half a dozen. Not a crazy amount.
Right.
Not a super long game either, right?
No, about 20 hours.
For a JRPG anyway. I mean, 20 hours is pretty good.
Right,
for
yeah.
a lot of games.
So the 20-hour thing is interesting because it does sort of like keep the pace up, which is good. But there are certain things that feel like they're worth further examination. Like a character who has a really big secret. He just kind of reveals it to you and he's like, let's just keep this between ourselves. And you're like, but wait, there's so much to talk about. Like, I want to know more. I want to know this and that. And it honestly never really has a resolution, one that's satisfying anyway. And there are even characters, like there's a guy with a scythe he's like a direct like recreation of Magus from Chrono Trigger. Who's this guy with a scythe who's kind of, he's evil, but he doesn't really get the same development as Magus. Like you don't get to understand him and his motivations. He kind of just appears and is like the perfunctory bad guy.
Right.
But a lot of the characters, what makes the story interesting is the characters themselves bring emotional baggage to the table. They don't necessarily develop it, which is too bad, but they all have something about them that is like kind of tragic, makes you sympathize with them a little bit.
Questions coming in from the chat. Jin Yasninster asking, what console is this for? What did you play it on?
I played it on PlayStation 4. It's also coming to Steam in North America and Europe.
Cool.
Japan got a Vita version. We are not getting that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
That's a shame.
But you can play it via remote play if you want.
God, I wonder why. This seems like the type of game that I actually would pick up on.
It's made in Unity. Check a box.
Yeah, right.
Publish it. It's already done. And they just didn't, I don't know.
That's bizarre.
It is strange. Like why they would just omit that opportunity to make money.
It makes me worried that Sony aren't even pushing. I mean, it's Square Enix as well. You think that would be something they'd be like, look, we'll sort you out. Just like put this out on the Vita, please. It makes me think that Sony don't give a shit about the Vita anymore, basically, when I see things like that. I don't know. Sorry, Jake, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was wondering, what'd you think of the presentation, though? Because I came by your desk and you were playing, and I was like, oh, it looks beautiful. And you're like, yeah. Like, you didn't seem too excited. And then I was like, oh, all right, well, I thought it looks beautiful. And I started editing the review, and I noticed that the environments look really similar.
They're not 99% of the environments are Winterland, right?
Right.
Snowy forests, snowy towns, snowy fields. Occasionally you go into these sort of, I don't even like, maybe it's another dimension. It's just some sort of weird place that's dark and you can't really see much, and there are floating things, you assume. The rules of nature don't apply
Outland.
here. Yeah. I actually really like the art, and there are some scenes where the lighting and the composition, like framing the scene, work really well together. And I think, okay, someone behind this took the time to make sure that this was a special moment. But there are a lot of things that do just look kind of bland, unfortunately. But by and large, I think maybe I came around after I played the game some more, and I saw more of those things that were impressive. So I think it's a decent looking game, especially one that, like, it's a 3D game that's trying to mimic what a 2D game used to do, and I think it does that pretty well.
Cool. Out today?
Sure. I forget. I just remember embargoes these days.
I think it's out today.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, how do you feel about this game? Because I know that you like Japanese RPGs. Is this something that's been on your radar? Are you interested?
It has been on my radar because I thought it looked beautiful, to be honest. But then after editing the review, I'm not quite as excited as I was before. I think just because what I did edit, it looked a lot of like the same stuff. And like even the dungeon stuff that you did give me just felt very like, it just felt kind of out of place. But I mean, I'll still probably give it a try. And I think, and everyone's been talking about how great the music is too. I don't know what you thought of that, but that's kind of something I do want to.
That's a weird thing for me. I did really like the music. It's all piano.
Right.
Which over time it kind of drags you down a little bit. Like I love listening to piano arrangements of classic game soundtracks. It's a wonderful instrument. But for an entire game to be just one instrument is a bit much. The thing that really got me was some of the songs are so clearly riffing on Chrono Trigger music.
Really?
Where it's like the same chord progression, just a different tempo or different meter structure. Yeah, and like that's this kind of thing where I'm like, this is fucking lazy.
Right.
I cannot respect. I can say, yeah, it's beautiful, but I don't respect that song. I don't respect the artistry behind it.
It's a difficult line to sort of walk, right? To be like referential to the past without hamming it up too much. You think it kind of crosses over? It's a little bit too derivative.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this game is littered with things that if you've been playing Japanese RPGs for years, you will say, okay, that is Frog from Chrono Trigger. That is Auron from Final Fantasy X.
Right.
This is the plot from Final Fantasy X. It's Chrono Trigger's battle system. The random events from the Saga Frontier games that occur during battle. All these things just, kind of coalesce into a thing that's just super referential.
Yeah.
The few times it does stand out, though, I did feel like the game has an identity of its own. I would just love to see them take all this knowledge and expertise, making it a classic RPG, but doing something totally original with it. Not just trying to say, hey, guys, fans, I know what you like. You've been asking for it for years. Here it is. Like, stop complaining. Like, okay, but you have to take it the next step.
Yeah. You can't just be that.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be talking about this game in 20 years.
Right.
Like we talk about Chrono Trigger now.
But a fun game to play, nonetheless?
Yes, I think people should play it. I mean, a 7 is an endorsement in my book. It's good out of 10, not really 7 out of 10. I mean, that's the way I like to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Out today on PlayStation 4, I guess. No Vita version for us yet.
The Steam version should be out today as well.
Okay, Steam as well. Yeah, pick it up there if you want. $13,999 as I checked. Might be a bit cheaper on Steam on launch day. That sometimes happens. Go check it out. Thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I think Jimmy Thang is going to be in the wings. We've got him in a second to talk about hot hardware. What are you playing at the moment, though, Jake? What are you enjoying? It's this weird dead zone at the moment. I actually I started playing Blood and Wine based on your your recommendation.
That game's sweet.
It's really
I
good.
kind of want to go back and play it more, but I think
Stop replaying RPGs all the time.
I know, especially really long ones that are going to take me hours and hours.
Before you go, what are you playing at the moment? What are you?
I mean, mostly Mass Effect, I'd say. Like I just
Haven't you been paying attention, Danny?
You haven't completed the third one yet.
Yeah,
What are you doing here?
I heard the ending is great. People love the ending.
We don't talk about that anymore.
He's got it. There's a good 4 paragraphs of his script, which is about the ending of Mass Effect 3.
But yeah, that's it. Looking forward to No Man's Sky though.
Cool.
Gotta
Yeah.
play that a lot.
TikTok. It's coming soon. Thanks so much, man.
I'll tell you what I'm playing right now.
What are you playing right now, Peter? I also care about you.
No, you don't. The King of Fighters 14 demo.
Oh,
dropped
right.
today.
It did.
Yeah,
How is it?
It's great.
How's that 2.5D doing?
It's fine.
What up, Jimmy?
It's fine.
Yeah?
The timing, the animations, the controls all feel right.
Cool.
No complaints.
They did it.
I'm looking forward to that game.
Good. That's interesting because a lot of people were kind of like, how will it play out?
At first, the way the characters were rendered looked like a up-res PS2 game. But
Right.
they've fixed some of that. So.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Andromeda release date predictions asks Melananet 1998. God, was that person born, I think, 18 years old? There you go. Mass Effect Andromeda next year?
The
Summer
future.
next year? The future.
Sometime
There you
in
go.
the future.
Sometime in the future. Jimmy Thang, what are you playing at the moment?
A lot of Overwatch. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you been enjoying competitive mode?
I have been, yes. I'm currently ranked 55, I think, which is above
In the world?
Yeah, I'm not that
Wow.
good, unfortunately, no.
You should quit this video
Yeah,
game
seriously.
I'm not playing it.
reporting genius.
As much as I want to. It's like, nope. I'm the 55th best player, so I can't.
So I'm terrified to go back now because I haven't played since E3.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really worried that I'm shit. That everyone else has gone
Don't
really
worry,
good.
man. I'll carry you. I'm 55.
Appreciate it. Have you played much with Anna yet?
Just very briefly. I think once.
Is she in the public? Because I know you can
I don't know if
opt
she's
into
in
her.
she's in the PTR. I don't know if she's
Yeah.
in the if they actually patched her into the actual game yet. I don't know. If
Right.
it's available.
So is that like Test Realms where you can only play against other people
Yeah.
who have also opted to have her?
Yeah.
That's really weird. Does that mean you're getting into maps where basically everyone is picking her then?
Pretty much, or
Right.
Zenyatta, who's buffed and things like that.
Right. Okay.
Didn't they set up a new mode where they only allow one character?
That's the new competitive.
Oh,
It's getting rolled
okay.
into
very,
competitive.
Very
Gotcha.
controversial right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the thing they said they'd never do.
Never say never.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I have not Morheim. Who do I have? Kaplan on record saying that they
Did he say?
never do
Did
that.
he say? Well, so you're not locked into the character though.
No, you're not. But the other
But he
one.
explicitly said
I'm pretty sure I need to go back and have a look at that one. If it was either then or it was back at Gamescom when we interviewed him there. Where because that was one of the things was that when we played it at BlizzCon, there was 3. It was when Bastion had the shield,
Sure, yeah.
and there was everyone would load up as Bastions, and it was a nightmare because back then Bastion had a shield as well, which meant you could put a Torbjorn turret beside Bastion, and they'd both be shielded, so you could just rank up. And it was after that we asked, and he said there weren't. Maybe he said we've no plans to do that. I don't know, but we shall see. Okay, let's not talk about Overwatch. Let's talk about hardware. Jimmy Thang, you're here. A new graphics card has come out.
Yes.
The 1060, which is 10 lower than the last graphics card.
Yes, it
during
is 10 lower
Tokyo.
than 1070.
So that leads me to believe that this is perhaps some sort of budget card in that same family.
It's in the same family. It uses the Pascal microarchitecture. Budget, not so much. I would say mid-range.
Okay.
So it's starting at $250. The card that I reviewed is essentially the reference model, the Founders Edition, which is $300.
Right.
And it's basically the card that a lot of people will get because it offers really good performance for 1080p, and it's not outrageously expensive.
Right. Yeah. 250 seems pretty standard. Or
I think it's
good
it's
for-
actually one of the most popular price ranges.
right. It's weird how that consumer purchasing sort of stuff goes, where they know where people
Yeah,
sit.
I mean, it's in a nice area because like if you spend too much money, if you spend over $500, you get diminishing returns.
Yes.
Right. It's for the people who have disposable income out there, and then if you spend too much, it's like later on down the road you're gonna have to upgrade or whatever to, or you'll want to. But this is sort of in that sweet spot.
So we talked a lot last time about the sort of the pros and cons of going for the 1080 over the 1070. It's kind of impossible to talk about these cards without referring to the rest of the members of their family. So what is it about the 1060? Like how close is it to the 1070? How much worth is it just like throwing in that extra couple of cash if you have it to get the 1070?
Sure. So the 1070 is, let's see, I wrote this down. It is 23% faster
Okay.
than the 1060, but it's also 33% more expensive.
Right.
So the 1060 is actually a better deal. If you like, most people game at 1080p. If you want a game at that resolution, then I'd say go with the 1060. The 1070 is more for like 1440p, or if you want to like sort of dabble in 4K.
Right. What about, where does virtual reality come into this then, do you think? Because I'm kind of super layman when it comes to this. Like I built my own PC again 9 months ago, but I don't keep on top of it all the time.
Sure.
But it seems to be that people are saying you should get that extra bit of power if you're going to try and run virtual or multiple monitors, I guess, which is what VR requires.
I mean, I think I've said this before, but VR is very graphically demanding. You need to have, it's basically running two 1080p panels in a way.
Right.
In each eye. And then you have to maintain a really high refresh rate or frame rate of like 90 frames per second or higher consistently. If it drops, it kind of it can make you motion sick.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have a high resolution and a high refresh rate. The 1060 for $250 can do that. And also AMD also released a card not that long ago, the RX 480, which starts at $200. And I'm actually going to put together a VR build, like a really affordable VR build. I'm going to try to get it below $800 that can do that as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw Asus was selling one of their ROG systems built for VR for like $700, $600 recently.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
it was super cheap.
Wow, that's really
It may have
good.
been like a deal, but
Okay.
it's certain the discussion has
Less
changed.
than the cost of a Vive.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
But I think I see the discussion changing around VR pretty soon, like in the near future. Where it's this cost prohibitive thing, and that's going to kind of go away, and people are just going to be buying PCs that this is VR. It just works on my PC.
Right.
I didn't buy it for VR. Like it's
Right.
just powerful enough out of the gate.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that because I think that's the sort of thing that's going to make devs more inspired to actually treat VR like a worthwhile pursuit.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a big...
It's not like to get a VR PC. It's like this magical sort of requirement. Like if you have a high-end gaming PC, that's going to be able to do it.
No, totally, yeah. But for a lot of people, I think they're not gaming like a
Savvy.
hardcore gamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
Right.
I've heard about
Yeah,
this
yeah.
VR thing. What do I need to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too expensive. Like,
It's that type of thing where you're like you budget for the $600 or $800 thing, and then you're like, oh, but I also like need to upgrade my graphics card. Like I used to get that a lot when I worked in retail, which was like people would come in and wanted to buy a game for their kid, and then you'd be like, oh, but your system requirements are this, and they'd be like, there's no point. Then I'll just get them this other thing. Like or. They wanted to get them the new console and then realize that all the games cost way more because they're all new games. Like there's always that, once you add that like extra cost onto people, that it sometimes becomes that extra barrier that just kind of stops them from doing it.
Right.
So it should be pretty interesting, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty good one. I'm guessing, like, what was the game at which you started to struggle at for you? Was it, because I see when your benchmarks, there's all, like, the good touchstones of, those crazy Eastern European first-person shooters, Bioshock Infinite, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so games like Bioshock Infinite, Shadow of Mordor, those games are sort of what I would consider, like, mid-range graphics kind of games. Like, they're going to look pretty, they're going to run pretty well or well-optimized. Games that will really push your system include... Metro Last Light,
right?
And like Rise of the Tomb Raider, like The Witcher to some extent, to a lesser extent. But yeah, I'll test out a bunch of different games. So like Bioshock Infinite will be like, here's a game that's not super easy to run, but it will run on it should be able, it's like a moderate game. And then like Metro Last Light will be like, here's the final test. Like if it can do this one, then it can do this resolution.
Have you thought about introducing Doom into that? I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how
the new Vulcan
with the Vulcan.
I think Peter was complaining that my reviews are too long, so I don't know if I want to add more benchmarks, but I certainly can look into it in the future.
Is there such a thing as too long for a hardware review? I feel like the people who are
My
looking for
reviews
that
are
stuff,
my reviews are really
I
long.
think
They
the
are
last
very
one
long.
was like 4,000 words.
So it's like reviewers are like, how come you don't add more benchmarks? And I'm like, this is already ridiculously long. And then not only that, I have to go and like test like 5 other cards, like run all those benchmarks too.
of course.
And then like a lot of people don't know, like sometimes I have like 3 days or whatever, like a week to
Yeah.
review these, and I don't have time to like running benchmarks like takes time. Like
Yeah.
I can't
It
like
seems simple, right? Just go to the for some games, just go to the menu and hit benchmark, but it's a pain in the ass.
yeah. And I'm
'Cause,
like
yeah.
I'm also doing like experiential benchmarks where I'm literally playing the games. I'm like running fraps and recording average
Right.
frame rates and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it's
Like-
stuff like that, right?
So it's very time intensive.
Last question on the 1060 SLI.
Yeah, so SLI is not supported, which
Right.
is this is,
It's not a bit of a shame for because then you think, you
Yeah.
could run an SLI setup for 500 quid. Like that'd be pretty cool.
yeah, so in general, I wouldn't recommend most people, go out and buy SLI system. I generally recommend people buy one powerful graphics card over 2, because with SLI you have performance scaling issues. Like some games don't even support SLI. Some games will run worse on SLI. Even
Right,
I think
yeah.
Assassin's Creed, one of the Assassin's Creed ones, had that issue. Having said that, though, some games do support it, and it's nice to have the option. Especially later on down the road, like let's say a year or 2 from now, when 1060 is really cheap, you'd want to like just get another one for cheap, and then add an SLI, get like near double performance in some games. But with 1060, it doesn't support SLI, which was very surprising to me. I asked Nvidia why, and they said that it's not very common in mid-range GPUs, and that they're sort of relegating that to the 1070 and 1080 GPUs
Right.
where it's more common.
Do you think that we're, I don't know how to say past SLI, but do you think SLI will sort of continue to exist, or have we reached the sort of, we've jumped up so good at
You're always going to
performance
need more
again?
power.
You
You're
think
always
it-
going to need more.
people
VR is
will
always
always
going to
wanna
need
do
more
it?
power. People are always going to want better graphics, I think. Next generation consoles are always going to come, kind of thing. So it's, I think we're always going to want more power. I was actually interviewing Tim Sweeney the other week, and I asked him, like, how many teraflops would we need to reach photorealistic graphics? And he said he thinks around 40 teraflops. And
40.
40.
Okay.
And the 1080 is like 9 teraflops, and the new Xbox is like 6.
Right.
So like sort of gives you the idea, like we're far away from like achieving realistic graphics.
There you go. A lot more work to be done. Jimmy Tang, thank you so much for coming in. 1060, your full review is on GameSpot.com. If you want all those hot benchmark stats, head over to the site and check it out now. All right. We're pretty much done
Oh no.
for the show. What are you playing for the rest of your week, Peter Brown?
Oh, the next.
Jimmy, you can stick around. You're good. You can stick around. You just hang out.
I'm going to be tackling Headlander, the new Double
Oh,
Fine
cool.
Adult Swim collaboration.
Yes. Out next week.
Yeah, it's like a weird 70s themed kind of mix and match robot thing. And
Metroidvania.
Yeah. Item-based exploration game is
Okay.
the way I like to describe
That's
it.
way catchier. Castleroid.
That's the one. After that, Abzu, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Next week, yes.
They had a cool booth at E3.
Yeah.
You could had fish. Fake fish.
And then
It's the only booth I saw at E3.
maybe No Man's Sky whenever we get there.
Okay. Let's see about that. Jimmy, you going to keep playing some hot
I'm
Overwatch?
just playing Overwatch. I'm trying to get
That's why he
to-
was trying to get out of here so
Yeah,
fast.
I'm trying to get to the 54th, I guess, best player. Yeah.
Are we done?
Damn it. I stopped playing Overwatch. Battlefield 1 like took up so much of my. I wasn't expecting to really like that. Like Battlefield 3 I enjoyed. Battlefield 4 I was kind of like done on. I really loved 1942 Vietnam, and Bad Company was great. But I thought I'd give it a go, the closed alpha. I played 16 hours
Wow.
of that one map over and over again. I really like Battlefield 1 a lot. I was so surprised. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah.
I want them to get that alpha out to people, because I think it's going to be one of those games that like once people play are going to be like, oh, this is actually like different.
Are the guns like World War I guns?
They're
or are they
so shitty. Like they're not as shitty as they should be, because they're clearly like the end of World War One,
Okay.
creeping into World War II guns. But it's so much fun to like, because like I was playing Overwatch, right? So you got like Widowmaker, right? And you've got like tick tick click boom, and you basically like headshot somebody from across the map. And in this one, you're like they're like running across the way, so there's bullet drag and it drops. The bullets drop and they lower in speed and effectiveness,
Yeah.
and then you also have to like lead the shot for the time it takes to get there. So when you hit them, you don't kill them unless you get a headshot. So if you kill somebody from like 300 yards with that thing, it is like you're gone. It's like it's unbelievable. Yeah, and like even like the shotgun in it is pretty powerful, but like even machine guns and stuff, there's a lot of recoil, and they're kind of, it doesn't feel powerful. So I kind of I sucked so bad for the first like 4 hours, and I basically just had to like rethink how you play these guns. You can't just like run along and like aim down sights and shoot. It's like, if you're using the machine gun, you have to be like in a prone position, or if you're using a sniper rifle, make sure you're beside a piece of cover that you can put your rifle up on. And then like finding your role, and like realizing again that it's not about kills, it's about finding objectives.
I was going to say love, but
it's yeah, exactly. Yeah, the one story of World War One, the war that everyone came together for. And there is that, like, the coolest thing I think about the whole thing, and I do feel like I'm hyping the crap out of this game now a bit, but the one thing that I kept loving every single time is at the start of the map, you basically, this one map anyway, you're fighting over this one like village, right? And on one side it's basically like the start of no man's land. Behind it's just like trenches and mud for miles and miles, and then this side it's kind of like decent countryside, and they're fighting over this one village. It's got all these objective points in it, like windmills and towns and all this sort of stuff, and by the end of the map it's just fucking leveled. Like, it's just slop and mud, and the buildings have fallen apart, like not even in like a, oh, you hit the thing that triggered the level to explode. It's just like constant battering, tanks hitting into walls, like bombs going off, and by the end it's amazing because it totally changes the tactics. Like, you're holed up in a house and like half the third floor gets blown off, and then suddenly you're like running around on top of the roof, or like, it's amazing. Like, by the end of the level, it's just, the whole place is, looks completely different. Tactically it's totally different because then it's hard to snipe when there's no buildings to hide in, or like there's no walls to hide behind, and there's a really frantic feeling. And then the strings, the like music they use, the violin music is so evocative. And then
What class is that?
the violin class,
the minstrel.
yeah, strings class.
What if you could play Pokemon Go in the middle of those maps?
And that was the guy walking in the background. He's like with a smartphone.
Some dude like this with like a spiky helmet on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry.
Get it done, EA. All right, that's the show this week. We'll be back next week. I won't be here. Mike Mahardy will be hosting with all your favorite GameSpot heroes here on the lobby. Thank you so much for hanging out. As ever, really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on GameSpot, we will see you bright and early next week again. Thank you so much for everyone in the back, of course, for putting this whole thing together. Jean-Luc Seipke, Mary Kish, Eric Tay, Richard Lee on the camera. Good man. Feeling strong? Nope. He was at Evo all last week. I'm surprised you're even in this week, man. You should take some goddamn time off. Those fighting game esports. All right, we're out of here. Play Pokemon Go. We'll talk about weird headlines next week. Adios.